Last Thursday, EFF leader Julius Malema objected to President Jacob Zuma's reply to a question about when he was going to repay part of the 246 million rand spent on alleged security upgrades to his private Nkandla homestead. National Assembly Speaker Malala ordered the EFF MPs out after they started chanting that Zuma must pay back the money. EFF leader Julius Malema joins me now to discuss this and other issues. Julius Malema, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, sure.
You didn't achieve much on Thursday. I mean, you asked the question, you started chanting, but you did not get an answer to the question. When are you paying back the money?
Well, we achieved a lot. South Africans are now up in arms fighting for the money to be paid. Everybody says, when is the man paying back the money?
No.
Because the man has got a tendency of prolonging things with a hope that they will die.
But South Africans have been asking that question, today, when is he paying back the money? You're not the first, but you didn't achieve anything.
The issue was dying a natural death justice. And if it was not of such a significant matter, I wouldn't be here. I think here you call people who have made an impact, and that's why we're here. The matter has made an impact.
You've made a lot of noise, but you didn't get the answer. Jacob Zuma still hasn't answered you. When is he paying back the money?
And not only me, he has never answered anyone. And that's why we're using different methods to force him to answer this time around.
Is this the method that you're going to use to ensure accountability in Parliament? Then?
No, we're going to engage robustly in a manner that people will feel obliged to answer questions and not take Parliament for granted.
But he was supposed to come back to you with an answer, and then you started chanting, yourself and your fellow leader in the EFF, and Buyiseni Rosie started chanting, pay back the money, and you disrupted everything.
I don't think we're watching the same Parliament. He was not coming to answer me. He was done with me, and then the Speaker was calling Holomisa, so I don't know if Holomisa is a new Malema.
Maybe Holomisa was going to ask him again, when are you paying it? And he was going to answer that question.
I wouldn't predict what Holomisa was going to ask him. I wanted my question to be answered, and I said to him, we're not going to leave here up until you give me an answer. And he laughed, and he thought that day was a usual days of just laughing, ha, ha, ha. And we dealt with him to know that in future you come to Parliament, it's not a matter of just coming to laugh.
What do you mean you dealt with him? You threw your toys out your cupboard, you shouted and chanted, but you didn't get an answer.
No, the answer will ultimately come. The struggle is not like organizing a 21st birthday party where you just gather and celebrate and that's it. You have to fight for what you stand for. And this is the beginning of many, many actions to be taken against President Zuma so that he's held accountable.
But there are rules, and the rules in Parliament says you ask the question, he gets a chance to respond, you get another chance, he responds, and then you move on to someone else, Bantu Holomisa or Musimamani or whoever. The key thing is there are rules, and you broke them, and you still don't have an answer for me.
People who break rules, they get punished. Up until today, I was never punished for anything, which is a clear indication there is no rule.
No, you were kicked out of the ANC because you didn't like the rules and you broke them.
No. In Parliament, we're there. People called police to come and manhandle us. Police came and said, they've got a right to be here. We have no role to play inside Parliament. Deal with your own issues. So there's no constitution that we have broken. We're defending the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which is being undermined by Jacob Zuma. Remember, Parliament, we've got an absolute freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And we are pushing it to the limit. We are exercising it. People were not using this Parliament and the Constitution to the latter. We are doing that.
But you stopped Baleka from continuing with proceedings. You didn't give her the same freedom of speech that you demand for yourself.
No, Baleka she's very partisan, man. She's not a Speaker of Parliament. She's a Speaker of the ANC. And she does everything in her power to defend the ANC. I mean, she ran short of calling us howlers. She said, remove this how honorable members of Parliament. A Speaker of Parliament will never be impatient. A Speaker of Parliament will rise above and ensure that members of Parliament continue to eat from her hand through how she conducts herself. But if she becomes part of the problems of members of Parliament, that's when she loses control. She must rise above. She must always remain calm. And even when tempers are high, The Speaker of Parliament is the one that should continue to say, members of Parliament, let's continue to behave in a manner that will not disrupt this Parliament.
You've been accused of having planned this disruption. You've been accused of having essentially, earlier in the day, there were rumors that yourselves and your fellow party members are going to make sure that Jacob Zuma is held down. Did you plan this?
It's not true. Remember, I asked a question, and then I sat down. Floyd followed, and others also followed. If the Speaker had allowed us to follow up on that matter, there wouldn't have been a disruption. So we never had any plan to disrupt. It was spontaneous. Given the material condition and the reluctance of the President to respond to our question, Ndlozi and other members of Parliament on their own said, pay back the money. And that's when all of us joined. Even the DA people were part of it until they were called to order by their own leadership. If you look at the guy who sits with Chabalala in front of the next table, he was also chanting, pay back the money.
Okay, what's the next step in here?
We're not planning with DA. We can't plan with DA. It was spontaneous, and people on their own were beginning to say, perhaps this is the way to go.
What happens now? You've shouted President Zuma down. There's a bit of noise and so forth, but I still want to know, and I voted for you or any other party in Parliament. I expect my MPs to get Jacob Zuma to account. So what happens now? How are you going to get Jacob Zuma to account?
Those who voted for us are celebrating what we did on Thursday, by the way. They are not troubled. They are enjoying seeing their members of Parliament holding the executive. They are waiting for an answer
from President Jacob Zuma. What are you going to do to get Jacob Zuma to answer that question?
I don't know if Zuma will eventually answer this question. Remember, even the public protector says, brief the Parliament on when are you going to pay. We are not going to be tired to demand an answer. Well, the same way you are looking for an answer, I'm also looking for an answer, brother. And I'm going to be insisting on getting the answer. So I wouldn't know when Zuma is going to answer because he has never answered anything.
Let's move on from the parliamentary issue. Let's talk about the public protector because you referred to her. Here's a clip of you speaking about the public protector just 8 months ago. Let's have a look at it.
Tulima Dontsela's office is operated by Afrikaners. Investigations are done by Afrikaners. I used to respect her. I thought she was fearless, but only to realize that she's a tool used by Afrikaner minorities to undermine the leadership of African masses.
Perhaps Jacob Zuma would say the same thing, that all these findings against him are used to undermine the leadership of African masses.
Our relationship with public protector is that of complementary and confrontational relationship. Where she does good, we'll compliment her. Where we think she has missed the point, we'll robustly, in a fearless manner, criticize her like we've done before. So she gets used by white people against yourself, but she's not being used by white people against President Zuma? No, I was not even talking about myself. I was characterizing the office, that investigations are done by Afrikaners and the reports get compiled and she just rubber stamp. Is she a tool being used by white people against black leaders? Well, I think she's doing her work, and we must all appreciate the type of work she does. If she goes wrong, we'll challenge her. If she does right, we'll compliment her. In 2010, she found against yourself and others, On Point Engineering, SGL, and so forth. You wouldn't, one could ask the same question, that if you want President Zuma to respond to her findings in this open manner that he should, and I agree with you that he should, you too should have done the same thing when she found against you in 2010. Do you know that public protector once found in my favor when it was alleged that we were building bridges that are falling? But because you are driven by negativity, you only bring a negative report. So when she found in favor of me, I was happy. When she found against me, I was not happy. Then you say she's being used by white people. I raised my observations, including saying she didn't interview me, and yet she made findings against me. And she said I must be answerable. I'm answerable now.
So Julius Malema
So
of the
the
EFF,
instructions of the public
can you and I
protector,
agree
I'm
therefore
complying with
that she's doing a great job because she finds against you, it has nothing to do, and that you're going to apologize for saying that she's a tool used against black people?
My brother, I said to you, ours is a confrontational and complementary type of a relationship.
So if she finds against you, she's being used by white people against black people?
No, I've always critiqued her.
But
she
is
knows
being
very
used by
well.
white people against you?
No, I was worried that the office investigations are done by white African minorities who were having an agenda to discredit African leadership. I raised that point fearlessly and openly, and for sure she did something about it. So when I criticize you, it's not because I hate you. I do that in the best interest of this country. No,
but I can't be influenced by white capitalists one day when I agree with you, when I disagree with you, and the next day, oh, I'm okay because I agree with you today. We've got to be consistent.
Just get your calculations correct. You're saying the ruling was in 2010, and the remarks were made 8 months ago. It was not in response to my ruling. So you are
speaking there in court in Polokwane.
No, I was speaking 8 months ago, not in 2010, on a separate matter, and it was not a personal issue.
A matter related to On Point and the corruption charges in Limpopo.
My brother,
yourself.
on that point, we're not talking about the On Point matter. On Point matter was in 2010. You are the one who imposed months on yourself. You said 8 months ago. You should have strategized properly.
November 19,
your
2013 is when you said it, and 2010 was when she concluded the thing.
So why didn't I say it in 2010?
No, you should have. In 2013, by then you should have been pretty satisfied that this is a person of integrity. She investigated me then, she investigates me again, she investigates President Zuma. Can we agree that you and President Zuma and myself can be investigated by the public protector?
Let me help you. Let me help you.
Help me.
When you are sitting there, you ought to be very neutral and not be driven by negativity. She says that in 2010, I go and receive an award with her, and I praise her. Okay. And I say to her, where you're doing good, we'll continue to praise you. And where you're doing wrong, we'll criticize you. And then on that segment you referred to, it was on a different subject where we thought she was not handling the matters correctly. Okay.
Let's move on. Congratulations on your settlement with SARS and the fact that you have paid it off by the end of November, and, and the sequestration will be lifted. But the question has to be asked. You owe 16 million rand for an assessment between 2005 and 2010. And at the same time, in 2010, on March 26, you told the Mail and Guardian, two reporters at the Mail and Guardian that you live on handouts. So I don't understand, where was the money coming from and how are you going to pay it now?
That's my brother, the SARS matter, we canvassed it for a very long time, even in this platform. And we've reached a point where me and SARS both sided to compromise and accept certain things, even if you don't agree, for the sake of progress. I've canvassed those grounds. I'm not going back there. The matter is settled. On top of what they sold from me, they requested I pay 4 million extra, and then the first installment should be 1 million. I've done that. And then every month I must pay 500,000, and they are taking 30,000 from my salary. A trust was established to help me resolve this SARS matter, and that trust is doing a wonderful job in raising money. There is no cigarette man, if that's what you are looking for, cigarette. There is no cigarette man who is paying for my taxes. Okay. My tax is paid by myself through my salary, and the trust, together with lower structures of EFF, are mobilizing resources to settle this matter.
Julius Malema, congratulations on getting into Parliament. I look forward to interviewing you again soon.
Thank you.
After the break, our winner and loser of the week. Stay with us.
News that moves. ENCA.com.